So what I've done so far is the veneer that was coming off on the top, I took some wood glue and put that underneath and then clamped the piece back down. You can kind of see the little crack of where the two are joined. And then I took this stuff called, I think it's called DAP. Plastic wood, we'll see how it works. I don't know, it's just what was in the hardware store, but I don't know if it's any good. This stuff, DAP, plastic wood. And I didn't have the piece of veneer that broke off for that, so I just pushed this stuff in there, and now I have to sand it down. And you can see the top is still in kind of bad shape. What I did do is I took wax, beeswax, to the whole outside. I cleaned it and then waxed it, and then I also buffed up these little handles so they were pretty dark before. I took a toothbrush and some toothpaste and just like one of those green scrubby sponges from the kitchen, and then also took a little nail file and then just sanded off like kind of where the highlight areas would be, so like all of the, just to restore that kind of bronze gold look. And I think it looks pretty good. Still have to do the top. Okay, so I wrapped this with like a makeshift little drop cloth kind of robe. I just surrounded the chest with this cloth thing that I had, and I'm just going through and I'm taking just a regular, like a nail file, just sanding off some of the excess. This was pretty high. You're supposed to fill it a little higher than the wood so that you can sand it down. So that's, I'm just getting it just a little bit roughed up, just so that when I go over it with the sander, I can just do it fairly evenly. And I did the same thing for the veneer, the crack in the veneer, just to take off any of that excess glue that might have been on there from when I glued it yesterday. So you can see I'm not going too crazy here, but just giving it a little bit of a cleanup. And then I'll take a damp rag and take some of that stuff off. Okay, so I'm going to take this sanding block. I have this one from, it's like Qual Paint. It just says medium. I don't actually know what the grit is, but the first sand will be, you know, the roughest one, so should be okay, whatever the grit is. So I'm just going to start going through, and won't make you watch it, but just going with the direction of the grain. I'm going to try to take this veneer off. So I've sanded a lot of it off. The edges still have a little bit to go. And I started with the 80. I'm going to go to the, I think, 120 next. And then I think the next size up is 220. Alright, so I'm in between sandings, and I'm just going to put a little bit of this Old English oil, just because the wood is so old and dry. We are out here in Colorado, and so I think this will help, it'll help the condition of the wood some. So I'm just kind of rubbing that in. And it is soaking it up, so I think I'll put some more, but I need my hands, so I'll video it after I'm done. Okay, so just the oil alone actually made it look really, really rich and beautiful. It's probably hard to see on this video, but it looks really nice actually just with that oil. We're going to keep going with more sanding, and eventually we'll do, I think, a coat of polyurethane on top as well. Okay, I sanded it another time and then re-oiled, and I filled in this little patch just to kind of see what it might look like. I'm not loving it. It is, I had to use a marker. It is a lot different color than the rest of the wood, if you can see that. And so we're gonna have to figure that one out, but I do like the way that the wood is coming along. The condition of the wood is actually looking pretty nice, and we'll do another couple sand layers and oil layers. Okay, so we're actually ready for our polyurethane, and I kind of fixed this thing up. I don't know if you can see very well what I did, but I took some, I kind of alternated permanent marker, and I used black, orange, and brown. Kind of worked it in, and then I would take a little stain and kind of coat it and blend it, and just kept doing that over and over again. It's not perfect, but from a distance you really wouldn't notice it, I don't think. Hopefully, that's the goal. So, anyways, you can kind of see how that looks, and it is a little dark. I do plan on going back over with just a little cloth and maybe just buffing some of that out, but we're almost ready for polyurethane. So once I do that, then the next step will be polyurethane. All right. Okay, so this is what I'm using. It's actually stain and polyurethane, but it's a light stain, so obviously it's not going to do any darkening on the stain that we have it already. But I'm not listening to the directions like I normally don't. And I'm going to use just a spongy little brush. So instead of using, they said a natural bristle, I'm just going to use one of these and paint it on. Okay, so we're just going to do a thin coat to begin. And they recommend you do a couple coats, but you're supposed to just do one thin coat from the beginning and then let that dry for 6 hours. So that part we are going to listen to, and that's exactly what we're going to do. You just want to try to go all the way so you don't have lines, but you can kind of see how I'm doing this. I actually don't know if I'm doing it right or wrong, but we will find out when we have a final result. So I'm going to do the rest of this without the camera on, and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so polyurethane has been put on, and I think it looks pretty good. We're going to let that sit for 6 hours, and then we're going to come back, and it recommends going over it with some steel wool. I don't think I have any, so I don't know if I'm going to do it, but probably should. So yeah, it recommends do that, and then go over the whole thing with some steel wool, and then actually reapply. So we'll see. There's my doggy. Okay, so I have sanded it again, and then just applied the second coat of the polyurethane. And probably will do that a couple more times. So probably won't document every step of that, but you can see also this crack, although there's a little glare, but you can see the crack is looking, I think, a lot better. It's kind of hardly noticeable. Okay, I just applied the polyurethane, and so this is what it looks like right now. I have to wait for that to dry, but as you can see, it is coming along. Looks pretty good. I think I'm going to be happy with it, even if it does have that kind of weird stain that appeared. Can't really notice it from angles, so we'll see. Alright, here it is, the finished product. I think it looks pretty good.